Ovo je drugi master klas u okviru ovogodišnjeg programa Digitalni propeler na Slobodnoj zoni. Kao što je najavljeno, Digitalni propeler će se sastojati iz dva segmenta. Prvi segment se naziva Stanje u Evropi i uključuje master klasove dva distributera, to jest prikazivača iz Evropske unije, sa namerom da nam pokaže kako su se oni snašli u vreme pandemije i nakon i koju vrstu inovativnih, promotivnih i strategija za građenje publike koriste. Drugi segment će biti posvećen post-jugoslovenskom prostoru, gde ćemo imati panel sa 6 predstavnika različitih platformi na prostoru bivše Jugoslavije i diskutovat ćemo o izazovima, problemima i najboljim praksama s kojima su se oni susreli. Mi smo u 10 imali masterclass sa Oleom iz švedske platforme Gutek Film. Sad ćemo da se premestimo u Poljsku. Katarzyna Orysiak je naš sledeći gost. Yeah, now I'll switch to English. Before we give floor to Katarzyna, I will just say a couple of sentences about Katarzyna herself and about her company. Welcome, Katarzyna, first of all. Katarzyna Orysiak-Marison is head of marketing at Gutek Film in Warsaw, Poland. She has been working in the film industry for over 13 years, specializing in marketing and distribution. With Gutek Film, she's been working with Gutek Film since 2013, where she has been responsible for many successful campaigns for films such Parasite, The House That Jack Built, latest film by Charlatan by Agnieszka Holland, Portrait of a Lady of Fire, Tony Erdmann, and so on and so forth. Her company, Gutek Film, was established in 1994. It's one of the leading and most recognizable film distributors in Poland. They focus on art house cinema in the first place, and they released over 400 films attaining over 7.5 million admissions. That's very fascinating. The company works with directors such as Pedro Almodovar, Lars von Trier, Paolo Sorrentino, Laszlo Nemes, and so on. And the most successful film so far has been The Untouchables, with 790,000 tickets, followed by Amélie Poulain with 750,000.
Okay, actually talking about that, so
you will talk. Okay, yes.
Presentation, yeah. So
so you will say more about that. Before I give floor to you, I just want to say that Gutek Film also owns the cinema theater called Kino Muranov, which is the most popular art house cinema in Warsaw, and I would say in Poland maybe. And in addition to that, Gutek Film started the New Horizon Film Festival, aimed at presenting independent artistic cinema, with its 21st edition taking place in 2021. It actually took place in August.
So yes, I think Petra already said some things about the company, about me, but I will tell you a bit more about us in my presentation. So let me just share the screen for you. So as you already know, this is what we're talking about. And yes, so Gutek Film is called Gutek Film because of our founder, Roman Gutek, which is actually quite an interesting thing, because Roman Gutek is actually still very active, and he's known in Poland a lot, and he's still very recognized by the audience and by people who are interested even mildly in culture. And as already Peter mentioned, we've been founded in 1994. Although Roman Gutek was working already earlier during communist times, he was organizing festivals already there, and was showing films of directors that haven't been shown before in Poland in cinemas. So it was a natural thing for him to start his own company and kind of name with his name. We actually think of ourselves as film curators, because, you know, distribution is, you can say, you know, it's basically putting films in cinemas or on VOD or on DVD or selling to TV. But we are the only, I think, the only distributor in Poland we actually have a brand, we have a name, and many people who know that the film is distributed by us go to cinema mostly because of that. We are a label for the film. We are labeling films as quality titles, and many people, even if they don't really know the film, they will watch it because it's us. There was actually, we actually had a small test once. One of the the major film portal in Poland, when they were recruiting new people for their company, they've actually asked what distributors in Polish market people know, and 100% of the candidates answered Gutek Film. No other company was mentioned. We were the only ones who were mentioned. So it kind of shows how recognized we are as a brand. And as you can see, at the moment, we are not only a theatrical distribution, but we've also started a film festival. We have our own cinema, and we also this year started our VOD platform. So as Peter mentioned, for over 25 years, last year we had our anniversary. We've released over than 400 titles, and we've actually sold almost 18 million tickets, which is, of course, it's distributed very differently. We have films who have only a few thousand viewers, but there are films who've done a lot more. Also, what's very important for us is that we work with directors that we like, and we try to follow those directors. So we've been distributing almost every single Pedro Almodovar film since we've started in 1994, meaning we only haven't distributed the earlier ones. But once we've started distributing Pedro Almodovar, we're distributing all of his titles. It's the same with Lars von Trier and quite a few other names. We've actually distributed in Poland and actually introduced Polish audiences to many names, as you can see on this list. And we're very fond, especially of Jim Jarmusch, because this was actually one of the first titles we've distributed, introducing his early films that were, you know, starting from 1980 to the Polish audience who had never had a chance to see his films before. And actually, what's very nice for us, and it's actually brought a lot of memories, especially for Roman Gutek, is that now, 25 years later, we're re-releasing his 7 early films again, actually now at this moment. We also gonna release it on VOD. So it's been like a chapter that's closed, or we're coming back to a chapter from the very early years. This is just a quick sum up of the films that we're distributing. We tend to have films that win awards. Of course, it's not our main goal, but it's always slightly easier if the films have been awarded, and we collected quite a few awards over the years. And what I have to say is also that over the years we slightly changed the types of films we are distributing. There were times that we were releasing very big titles. There were times that we were releasing very, very small titles, even 17 titles a year, but of films were of quite unknown directors, but we were distributing them because we liked the films. And we wanted to introduce Polish audience to them. And we kind of think of it as a mission, even at the moment, that there are titles that we know that not going to be very popular in Poland, but it's either we like and cherish the distributor, we like the film, and we think that it's worth to introduce Polish audience to it. And even if we know that probably it's not going to be a much profit or no profit, or we're going to lose on that film, we distribute it anyway, because we know that we can earn money on maybe some other big title. These are our biggest hits over the years. As you can see, it was our biggest hit was and still is The Untouchables, 700,000 viewers. The new addition of the last 2 years, it's Parasite. We actually really didn't expect that this top five films gonna change. But Parasite, as you know, was a massive hit, and in Poland was one of our biggest successes. So it's now on this list. The first film we've released was Lisbon Story by Wim Wenders. You can actually see here in the left bottom corner Roman Gutek, 25 years ago, actually in our cinema Muranów with a poster of Lisbon Story. And it was our first film, and actually Roman Gutek contacted Wim Wenders to tell him that, to invite him to come to Poland. And when Wim Wenders found out that this is going to be the first film that the company going to distribute, he said that he definitely has to come, because this is not going to be a success. This is going to be a very difficult. He has to help us, because otherwise the company going to go bankrupt after the first film, and that cannot happen. So he came, he helped the film, and well, we exist to this day. So I guess it wasn't that bad. Although there were times that it wasn't good. It's not like we always have only successes. There were times when it was a combination of decisions about what films to distribute, maybe some marketing decisions as well. But the year of 2000 wasn't only a difficult year for an entire globe, but also for us. And actually, there was a time when salaries were not being paid, and people were thinking whether the company gonna survive. But I think this was the moment that taught us a lot, because these were the times when actually Gutek Film was co-owned by a company that started a chain of multiplexes in Poland, one of the biggest chains. And at this moment, when the situation was so difficult, they decided to organize an audit on what we're doing. And the external auditor that came, basically his recommendations were that our head of finances, but it's still head of finances till today, that she should quit, and that she's completely crazy, that the goals that the company has are really weird, and he basically thought that the company will never survive, because our goals were not to grow all the time. Our goals were not to invest more and more and become bigger and employ more people and distribute more films and bigger films. We were always wanted to be a boutique distributor, and that's what we are doing still to today. Basically, it meant that we want to distribute films that we like. We want to, as long as we earning enough money to employ as many people as we want and to continue do what we do. We didn't want to grow. We don't always have to grow. And the finish of that story is that actually that company that was co-owning Gutek Film sold their shares, and they don't exist anymore, but we still do. So after this year of crisis, actually it turned out to be a new starting point for the company, because in 2001 came one of our biggest successes, as you've seen in top 5, Amelie. And Amelie was a massive success and basically turned around everything that happened before and helped us to survive and grow a bit and basically invest in new titles. We've already mentioned a cinema that we own. It's a cinema called Muranów, from the part of Warsaw that is located in. You can see here some posters at the front. Muranów existed already in the 50s. It was built when Warsaw was rebuilt after the Second World War. But we, as Gutek Film, we took it over in 1994, and we're running it since then. It started, well, always had 2 rooms. At the moment, it has 4 rooms. We actually, a few years ago, made a renovation of it. We found a place inside for 2 extra small rooms, which actually helped us a lot, because now we can have more varied repertoire. We can have different films. We can have more festivals. And that's how the cinema is also known, that there's always things happening in there. It's not just screenings, it's meeting with guests, it's lectures, it's a lot of festivals, a lot of different events, which is reflected in the awards that the cinema got over the years. In 2004, as you can see, it was the first cinema in Poland to be awarded Europa Cinemas Award for the best programming, and basically it's one of the favorite cinemas, definitely in Warsaw, which was also, you can see there's some audience awards that we got, and it's basically we can even see that. After the pandemics, where the cinemas were open for the first time, we could see that the audience was coming back to Muranów a lot faster than was coming back to other cinemas, especially to multiplexes. The audience wasn't so connected to multiplexes, but to our cinema, people were basically personally connected, and when Muranów opened, it was immediately maybe not as full as it was before pandemics, but we've recuperated our audience quite fast. And as I've mentioned already, we have always something happening in the cinema. We invite a lot of guests. Of course, it's always connected to our distribution and the films that we distribute. So over the years, we've had plenty of guests. Some filmmakers are actually friends of ours, and they come regularly. Petr Zelenka is a real friend. We always distribute most of his films. It's the same with Gaspar Noé. Gaspar Noé loves Warsaw and loves Muranów. We've been organizing some special screenings just for him in the morning after nights of parties. He was coming in the morning to see, for instance, Son of Show. So yeah, it's like a home for us, but it's also like a home for many of these people. And in 2019, so before the pandemics, the last, let's say, full year, Muranów has sold over 300,000 tickets for almost 8,000 screenings, which was a very, very good result. And one of our other, let's say, elements of our small empire, as we sometimes call it, it's a New Horizons International Film Festival in Wrocław, which is held in Wrocław at the moment, but it started in a city called Sanok in 2001. And it was at the beginning organized by Gutek Film. At the moment, since edition number 4, we've actually created an association that is like a younger sister to us, that is organizing the festival. It's a separate team that organizes the festival, because otherwise it would be more complicated. We basically, as Gutek Film, focus mostly on distribution, but New Horizons Festival, it's one of our main platforms for promoting our films. And as you can see here, it's a festival that was always aimed at presenting independent artistic cinema and it's at the moment it's one of the biggest and most recognizable film festivals in Poland. And its 21st edition took place in this year in August, and you can see this is actually on the right. You can see the poster of this year's festival. On the left, it's a first poster. So we changed aesthetics over the year a bit. And as you can see, in 2001, the festival was visited by 20,000 viewers. Over the times, the numbers, every year, the numbers have been growing. And in 2001, which was a hybrid edition, because we also had to change because of the pandemic, so that it was online and offline edition, and the festival had over 100,000 viewers. As an element of promoting, I mean, I've mentioned that we are being considered, and we consider ourselves as a brand, as the only distributor that has a brand, and we sometimes do things to promote that brand. Of course, most of the time we tend to promote our company through the films we distribute. There's always our logo. We never hide it. We always label our films, but sometimes we do things, especially if it's some anniversary, to also give some presents or give some something to promote our own brand. And the things we've done, for instance, you can see here T-shirts that we've released for 25th anniversary 2 years ago, with directors that we work with. Also, we've created a poster on the right, quite a artistic poster. We've printed it. People were able to buy it, but were able also to win it in various competitions. The same with the T-shirts. We also 2 years ago, during New Horizons Film Festival, we decided to have a party, our birthday party, and we've invited actually 2 DJs. One DJ was our youngest employee, who happened to be a DJ at the same time, although a bit of a hobby, but she's a DJ, and Roman Gutek, our founder, who was a co-DJ at that party, even if he didn't have any experience before. But the party was really a success. It was, I mean, Roman Gutek mostly just chose songs that he liked. And our colleague, who's a DJ, she was mostly DJing, although Roman Gutek was there at the deck as well. And people were crazy and were very mad to see him actually, you know, as a DJ. And actually we had to repeat that party 2 or 3 times, because people were, I mean, the fame of the party was big. As I mentioned at the very beginning, this year, we've also started a VOD platform. You can see it here, because from the very beginning, our plans were that it's not going to be only for titles distributed by Gutek. That's why the brand of the platform at the moment is the New Horizons brand. But it has our title, it has titles that have been on festivals, and we are basically still figuring out and still working on how to target it, what films to put on, because we're trying not only to stream films that we already have in our catalog, but also to find films that maybe nobody else haven't been in cinemas, or some classics that we could share on this VOD platform. So far it's going quite okay, although, you know, during the summer, the time, you know, people didn't really watch anything online that wasn't Netflix or HBO, so it was difficult, but now we're kind of still working on our strategy, and so far observing. But apart from the fact, apart from our own VOD platform, the pandemic also created other forms or other corporations and other VOD platforms. And there was a initiative that was created in Poland called Moje e-Kino, which is my e-cinema. And it was a unique cooperation between cinemas and distributors, because the whole idea came from the fact that cinemas during pandemics were closed, and from the fact that because they were closed, they couldn't earn any money. And of course, distributors, even if, without cinemas, they earn a lot less. They still have VOD, they still have TV, and cinemas don't have anything like that, any other source of income. Of course, some of them were issuing vouchers that you could buy a voucher to your cinema that you can use it once the cinema is open. But also the Association of Art House Cinemas in Poland, which is quite a big organization in Poland. It's because in Poland, basically, we have over almost 300 art house cinemas. And of course, some are bigger and some are private owned. Some of them are state owned, or at least local government owned by local governments. So it's a different, every cinema is slightly different scale, but they all meet twice a year and discuss and try to, as a group, as a whole community, figure out how to work with distributors, how to get subsidies, how to promote them as cinemas, basically to share different experiences they have. And one of the ideas that was created by the association, by the cinemas during the pandemics, was this VOD platform. The idea was that the distributors give their films to this VOD platforms. Of course, most of the times it's already films that are also on other VOD platforms. But what's unique about this VOD platform is the fact that when you buy a ticket, you choose which cinema you want to support. So on this desktop print screen, you can see actual page when you choose which cinema do you want to support. So of course, it also depends on the cinema, and it's important for the cinemas to promote themselves and to promote the fact that they have that they participating in these VOD platforms, what cinemas are doing. So when people are buying a ticket, they choose them and not some other cinemas. Actually, the first on the list is the Association of Art House Cinemas. So if you don't have your favorite cinema, or you just want to you just want to support association, you can also choose that. So I think it's quite unique for the fact that it actually gives cinemas some extra income. And even if the cinemas are open now, this platform still exists. And what's interesting, it's actually plenty of time host of many festivals. There are some festivals that didn't happen in cinemas, or for instance, happen in 1 or 2 cinemas in Poland, but at the same time or slightly later, those festivals are happening at this platform. So this way, people from entire Poland can participate in the festivals, and also at the same time, they can support the cinema they like, even if the cinema in their physical version doesn't host the festival, but they have it online, so people can support the festival this way, their cinema. Can
I just ask one question?
Yes,
Sorry,
of course.
Because now when you presented Moje e-Kino, to me it sounded like a very demanding job in technical terms. So like to find the right platform that can host all these virtual screenings and all the cinemas. So I can imagine it could be very hard work and very complex. So is it, do you know anything about that process?
I mean, I know, I can't really say much details because it wasn't on the side of distributors. It was on the side of the association. It was the association that actually got a grant from the Polish Film Institute to do it. So it wasn't, I mean, the cinemas, as far as I know, also had to chip in a bit, but it were way smaller amounts than what actually the grant from Polish Film Institute was. And it was actually on the association that chose the platform that the platform is using, and they are like on day-to-day basis at the moment they are running it. So I mean the interesting idea I think is as well that all the cinemas can also sort of as far as I know, plan things from their side as well. So it's not only, I mean, there are some events and some films that are sort of like, let's say, organized globally, so for the whole platform, but there are some elements that the cinemas itself can organize if they want to organize some special screening. So I know that now both distributors and cinemas are using this for this platform for different events that either there's no space in physical cinema or they just want to do something online, for instance. So
yeah, are you aware of any like technical bizarre problems like that people couldn't buy tickets, that the system crashed, or that?
I mean, there were at the beginning. They were at the beginning. I mean, the platform is still evolving. It's not. Of course, there are comments, for instance, that the design is not very friendly. But I think the fact is that the association was never special. They were not specialists in creating VOD platforms. But then I think the most important thing is that the audience really liked the idea. Because during the pandemic, many of the people were wondering how actually I could support my cinema, because they've realized that cinemas don't have any form of income and they might disappear. So that's why people were actually writing to cinemas, how can I help you? Do you have any voucher? What can I buy? And this actually gave them a way to support the cinemas. And even now, because there are quite a few VOD platforms on Polish market, and many times the films that distributors have in their catalogs, they usually give to different platforms, not only to this one. But many of the viewers are actually sort of saying that I want to buy on this platform because I know that this platform supports the cinemas. I want to pay to my cinema. So it's actually quite. So I think the audience really like the idea.
So it's actually loyalty of audience towards specific cinema theater, and specific brand, so to speak. Yeah. So okay, but then it means that cinemas established relationship with the audience and established loyalty. I mean,
the element I'm actually lacking, I mean, we don't have that data, is like, for instance, which cinema sells the most tickets? Because I would like to know personally, for instance, even like for our titles, because if we get reports from the platform, we just know how many tickets were bought, but we don't know, for instance, which cinemas were chosen. So we are working on that. We are trying to also get that data to basically to see how does it work. Are there cinemas who have more loyal viewers than others, or are there people who just mostly choose, alphabetically the first one, or just choose the association because, okay, I don't know the cinemas, I want to support everybody, because it's not all the cinemas that joined, because there were some cinemas who thought that it's not going to work, or basically had some problems. So there are some cinemas, for instance, created their own platforms. Mm-hmm. So that's also because I know that it was expensive. So I'm not exactly sure how is that working for them. But it's, for instance, one of the cinemas in Kraków. One of them, I would say, is as popular as Muranów. They have their own platform. There are some cinemas who don't participate at all in this platform or any other platform. So I think at the moment it's about 50 cinemas that participate. So, and for instance, you know, our cinema is not participating because it would be for us weird that, you know, that we're giving our titles and we have to sort of, you know, share where, you know, there are our titles and, you know, shown in our cinema. It's kind of, from financial point of view, it kind of felt weird, but, you know, but we give our films to the platform for all the other cinemas. So, and even if, for instance, the split, you know, are a bit less favorable than in other platforms, we think this is a help for cinemas. And we think that, you know, we don't exist without cinemas. It's like we want them to survive, and we want them, if that helps them, you know, that's fine with us, you know. So
there is also solidarity. It's not just business, it's also solidarity between exhibition and distribution sector. Yeah.
Although again, it depends on a distributor. You know, there are, for instance, of course, you know, the big studios, they don't participate, but it's kind of obvious. But there are kind of bigger distributors as well. They didn't want to agree for the splits that were offered or negotiated. So it's not all the distributors, but I would say that most of the art house distributors are participating in this platform.
But was it big disruption for distributors? Like, for example, out of sudden you plan to distribute film in cinemas and out of sudden you can't, and the only option is to give it to Moje Kino as online. Was it a great financial loss, or was it just I
mean, you know, for us, the fact, I mean, you know, VOD in general is never as good as cinemas, you know. I mean, you know, we don't earn as much on VOD as in cinemas, and it's regardless whether it's pandemic or no pandemic. I mean, before pandemics, it was also the cinemas, you know, working way better than VOD. And during pandemics, of course, it was like, you know, kind of no choice. I mean, you have cinemas closed, so it was kind of, at the beginning, the first months were kind of crazy. You could see that people are watching a lot and are just spending, you know, a lot of time in front of the TV or computer. But, you know, we had to do a lot of, I would say, educational, promotional work, because we suddenly realized that even our fans don't really know that our films are on VOD. Even if they are, you know, on VOD on different platforms, but suddenly people don't know those platforms. And you had to, I will be talking about it later in my presentation, what we've, because, you know, for us, it was also a big change, you know, how do you work as a distributor when you don't have cinemas? I mean, you know, what do you do? You know, and it was, again, different strategies. There were distributors who just stopped working during pandemic, you know, but I mean, we thought that basically what's most important for us is the team that we have, that we think that we have a very valuable team, and it didn't want to, you know, let go anyone. And we didn't want anyone to just, you know, stay home and do nothing. And especially that we felt that people need that. People need to continue do things. So even if we were meeting on Zoom instead of, you know, in the office, we were thinking, okay, what can we do now? What other options we could have, you know, where can we show our films? How can we promote them? Where they are, meaning on VOD. So yeah, we just had to, you know, And we also thought that, okay, let's use this time to prepare for future. It's like, you know, the cinemas, we always believe that at some point cinemas will be back, you know, they have to open. Like we didn't assume there can be any other option. So we thought, okay, so at some point we will need posters, trailers, you know, marketing campaigns. So let's just maybe slightly slower, not to, you know, overload people on Zoom, because we feel that Zoom is a lot more tiring than when you work in the office. So let's just maybe slightly slower, but let's do those things. So then suddenly when the cinemas are open, we're not, you know, overflown with work that now suddenly we have to do everything at once. So we were preparing basically. So we were like doing posters in advance and trailers and planning marketing campaigns. and which again I'm also going to mention at some point that was a winning strategy.
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting that Moje Kinos remained. So it was created as a transition, but in the end it was a new business model that's still that's still valid even after cinemas reopened.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not a major source of income for us, but but cinemas do appreciate the fact, and it's getting more and more known. Actually, Moje Kino works with maybe some of does work with Groovy, so works on the campaigns on Facebook and Instagram as well, to get more more audience. And it's still happening. Today they've started a Korean film festival, for instance, that's happening only on Moje Kino. So yeah, things are happening, and I guess it's staying. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. We also mentioned Groovy during the first masterclass because Ole in Sweden uses it for Draken film as well. So it's again this importance of digital optimization of audience campaigns and the rule of digital marketing. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Sorry, this wasn't meant to be a long disruption of your.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
It was just interesting.
Okay, so shall I continue then with?
Yeah, you can reshare the slides.
Because I wanted to talk a moment, because we were, since we concentrated more on, online presence of films, and it's always, the topic that interests many people, piracy. Because, we've had Poland is known for pirating a lot. And it's still, it's one of the biggest VOD platform. I'm not sure if I should call it VOD platform, but let's say online streaming platform is actually an illegal one. And actually there is a platform who, started as a legal one and then decided to become a legal one after their name was already, promoted a lot, and now they're legal suddenly, although they still have a part that's illegal. So, so it's kind of weird, and piracy is it's always there, and I think it will be always there. But one thing that we've over the years thinking about piracy, what we've decided is, of course, we with bigger titles, for instance, we use anti-piracy companies who are taking down links for us and are deleting sort of Google annotations, so Google links to illegal websites. But that that costs money, and we can only afford that with bigger titles. But what we've noticed is that it's basically, the knowledge that people have is very minimal. That it's not always the fact that people want to pirate. Is many times they don't know that, for instance, something is illegal. That there are, for instance, websites who are illegal, but you have to pay to use them, and people think because you have to pay, it's legal. And on the other hand, there are people who, for instance, don't want to watch a film legally, but they don't know how to look for it. Of course, there are plenty of people who just know where to look for it and how to find it for free in an illegal way. But in the past, when we tried to fight it, basically it backfired in a way that till now, for instance, 10 years ago, Roman Gutek started a fight with a website that was creating or gathering in one place subtitles, Polish subtitles for films, not even films, but basically, when we distribute films, most of them are in kind of random languages, not really only English, but you have, plenty the languages that are more difficult to understand for Polish people, and that website was providing them. And when we started the fight, people were sort of took it as, we're trying to stop the internet, and we're trying to stop the freedom that is in internet. And, this is people who are doing it as the hobby. The subtitles are their hobby. They're just trying to let other people to watch films. And people just sort of couldn't understand that that why are we doing it? And basically, you know, till now, we sometimes have comments like, you know, oh, you are the people who, you know, were fighting with subtitles. So we basically decided, okay, we're not gonna be doing it this way. We don't want to call people that, you know, thieves. What we trying to do is to educate people. So on one hand, to tell them that, look, I mean, you know, if you don't pay, basically in the future there might not be films, because, you know, it's basically people are creators, filmmakers are losing money if you don't pay, especially in art house cinemas, because, you know, other thing is, you know, this massive big Hollywood films, people don't really feel that, you know, if they are just one person who doesn't pay, that makes a difference. But if art house cinemas, art house films, it make a difference. And also the fact that we feel that our audience usually they understand that. So they understand that, you know, they want to pay for films. So our main goal is to tell them where can they do it. Where can you watch our films or other films legally? Which platforms are legal? Which platforms are not legal? Or mostly, where can you legally watch films? So so that's the main thing we're trying to do, rather than you know, penalize people for the fact that they're watching films illegally, especially that they're also in different research. It comes out that people who are watching the most and people who are watching the most art house also sometimes watch films illegally, but mostly because they watch so much that there are always some films that they can't find legally and they really want to watch them. So they will, you know, change VPNs or just look for illegal copies. But basically also I think it changes a lot. It changed a lot with Netflix and HBO, because people becoming slightly lazy. And the fact that, you know, you have a large choice of films in one place, then, you know, why do I bother to look for some illegal content that could give me viruses? So yeah, so basically, I mean, just to sum it up, because, you know, it's a very complicated and complex subject. We try to basically show people where can they watch films legally, rather than criticize them for watching it illegally. So I wanted to, you know, as we're talking about promotion, I wanted to sort of, I'm sure you know, all of you know this, how the life of a film looks like. Of course, it's not the life of every single film. I would say that probably only theatrical release is the element that it's always there. All the other elements, it kind of depend. They depend on the film. You know, how early do you buy it, and basically what type of film it is. But I would like to talk about some elements of this life of a film that we use to promote films. And one of the elements that we use very often is our festival, the New Horizon Film Festival. As I've mentioned, you know, it is a platform for promotion for us. And we, of course, you cannot do it for every film because it also depends on the, you know, when do you plan it to distribute? And the festival always happens in August or end of July. But for the films that we are planning to release, especially for films that, for instance, we buy in Cannes or in first part of the year, or that are released internationally in the first part of the year, we tend to organize festival premieres at the New Horizons Film Festival. We kind of don't give the films to other festivals. As a Polish premiere, we premiere them in Wrocław. And usually as well, we basically use the festival as a promotional platform. We invite guests. Here you can see it's a portrait of a lady on fire, and Adela Nel and Celine Sciamma. After we bought the film in Cannes, then it was an opening film at the New Horizons, and we've released it in October. And basically the festival was, you know, it's usually Most of the Polish press goes to the festival, so we use it as the place where you can organize interviews, any photo shoots. People can also watch the film. So, you know, the journalists can watch the film. So for us, it's already first, you know, first reviews, and we basically know whether journalists like the film or not. And it's the same with the audience. We basically observe always what are the reviews of the audience after the festival, because usually on this festival it's an audience that really likes talking about the film, about films in general. They're very active in the internet. They want to see you know, the premieres as fast as possible. So basically, we feel that one of the successes of A Portrait of a Lady on Fire in Poland was the fact that the film was very well received at this festival, and basically that festival started its word of mouth. And after that, basically, you know, we didn't wait long to release the film, and we kind of used all the press and all the reviews that started in August at the festival to boost the films with pre-screenings until the theatrical release. So we've done that plenty of times. Now, for instance, you know, in the last this year's festival as well, there were, I think, 8 of our films were premiered there. It kind of gave us also an idea, for instance, because there were some titles that people didn't really like, so we can as well, you know, that gives us some idea that maybe it's going to be a smaller title, or maybe we should slightly change the promotional campaign, that, you know, that the word of mouth is not going to be strong, so maybe we need to work on it differently. But we also basically figure out which films are the ones that got the most interest and the best reviews, and that gives us always a start to work on the release. The other element that we always think is very important is the various forms of pre-screenings, starting from press screenings to any other. I've mentioned here, you know, some types of pre-screens, or I guess it's probably all of them, I would say, because, you know, in the past we sometimes felt that you know, some films, if they didn't have good reviews after, let's say, Cannes or Venice, so maybe we shouldn't show them. Maybe it's better not to show them earlier to people. Maybe we just have to, you know, like don't show it to anyone. Just have an opening weekend, and that's it. You know, just have a strong campaign, you know, with visuals, etc. Just, you know, maybe people, you know, we sort of call it, you know, take money and run. You know, you get the first weekend before people realize the film is not good. But then over the years, we've realized actually that every film has its fans. Every film. Like, even if you think that people are not gonna like the film, you can be surprised, because we were plenty of times surprised that a film that we didn't like suddenly got very good reviews, or, you know, audience liked it, or journalists liked it, and suddenly we've realized we're gonna have very good press. So since then, we've decided that you always show the film, at least to journalists, but basically you always show the film. And especially if you feel that let's say you have maybe film with actors that are not really that known, or director that nobody knows, that maybe you should you know, do some pre-screenings, because you believe that people are gonna love the film, but you just have to show them the film. So we tend to organize plenty of different types of pre-screenings to get this word of mouth. And to basically to also check how people react, and to slowly build up the film. For instance, one of the films we've distributed and was one of our successes was Sugar Man, which you know, at the beginning, before it got Oscar, you know, nobody knew about the film. Nobody knew about Sixto Rodriguez. And we are basically, you know, our PR head of PR, she was basically almost forcing people to come to cinema, you know, different journalists, or we were organizing plenty of pre-screenings, So, you have to kind of build up the love for the film, because people, once they got to the cinema and seen the film, they suddenly realize, wow, this is fantastic, I have to tell other people. So and you would never do that with just a campaign without any previous screenings. So I would like to here talk about some types of pre-screenings that we do. One, as you can see here, is an event pre-screening, and basically you just need to create an event. You need to figure out what can you do for the film. And I think this one is probably most spectacular for us, because we've decided that Annette, that was opening film of Cannes this year. We didn't think it's going to happen, but we've asked whether we could show the film on a day of the opening of Cannes. You usually don't do that. You usually, you prepare your premiere with, you have to have a campaign, and especially, they don't allow you to show film so early, but the sales agent agreed and Cannes agreed. So we've organized at the same, on July 6th at 9 p.m. everywhere it was the same hour, simultaneous screenings. And at the beginning it didn't seem there's going to be so many cinemas, but eventually all three chain of multiplexes as well joined, and they showed the film in all of their cinemas. So it was over 100 cinemas that at the same day, same time shown the film, and we were kind of promoting it as a special screening at the same time with the Cannes premiere. So basically, go to the cinema, feel like you're in Cannes. You basically feel like you're at the Cannes opening. And the audience responded very well to that. They really, many people, even if we didn't give those ideas, although some cinemas did give that ideas, people dressed up like they were actually going to the Cannes opening. We actually, in Muranów, we've recorded earlier the red carpet, sort of like an hour earlier, and then we were screening it when people were entering the room before the film. We screened that carpet, so basically it looked like because the red carpet for Annette basically ended up of the whole team entering the screening room. And then we started the film, so it really felt like you're there in Cannes. The filmmakers just entered the room, and now we're starting the film, and you are in Cannes and you're watching it at the same time with them. So from promotional point of view, it was a really big success, because press wrote about it, people were excited about it. That wow, and especially that it was just a month after the cinemas reopened, so it felt like. After the time of not showing anything new, after the distributors were basically giving all their old titles, the titles that were held up for a year to be distributed, so they were suddenly showing films from 2020 or even 2019, and here you had a film, the newest possible, basically straight from Cannes. You can see the film, and that worked really well. So this is one type of event we've created, and then the other type of pre-screening that we organize fairly often is the pre-screenings with celebrities, guests, influencers. I mean, it's a quite wide group, and we do it with different ways. This screen you can see here is actually a pre-screening of Aida by Jasmila Zbanic, and we've invited guests that were talking about the film after, and we've noticed that especially now that especially for art house, people like if there is something extra with the screening that is not just a screening. But they like it. There is a introduction, or there is some guests after talking about the film, or meeting with the director, or meeting with somebody else, somebody you know, giving them something extra. So we, for instance, here we've invited guests that that we're talking after about the film, about the situation that is shown in the film. But what's also interesting and what we use a lot is like, it's how do you choose your guests? Because for instance, all these people that were here, apart from knowing a lot about the film and about the situation in AIDA, they themselves are in a way influencers. They all have their own social media, especially here Dariusz Rosiak, which is a person second from the right. He has his own podcast, which is one of the most popular podcasts about international relations in Poland. So he has his basically almost believers. And the fact that we invited him and the fact that he announced the screening on his social media resulted in, you know, the people who came to the cinema to this screening were people who normally wouldn't go to AIDA, probably normally wouldn't even find out about this film, but they did because of him. So we, you know, so it's not only that you're creating an event in the cinema, but you also can reach other audiences because they might be interested in a subject, not necessarily going off into the cinema, but this is the subject that might interest them, or, you know, a person who they listen a lot or watch a lot recommended the film to them, and they think that this might be something that they might watch. So we, you know, we try to organize this to almost every film. Of course, you know, it's always a different set of guests. And it all, of course, depends on the film, because there's not always a film you can talk about. So, for instance, in cases where we have a film that maybe guests like this, it's not the best idea, we tend to do pre-screenings. We call it for influencers or for celebrities. So basically, what we do is we have a list over the years. We have a list of plenty of different people that we invite for pre-screenings. It's usually one pre-screening that we organize especially for them. And we basically looking for, from this vast list that we've gathered over the years, we're looking for people who might be interested in this particular title. And we just basically, we don't expect anything from them. We just want them to come to see the film. And you never know what's going to happen. You know, it's like, you know, some people, if they like the film, they might use their social media to write about it. Many times, you know, if it's a screening, like for instance, closed screening only for these influencers and celebrities, they feel privileged that they are, you know, they are at the pre-screening that is only for them, and it's early one, and they're gonna do, you know, some videos from the cinema where they are, and of course, you know, it's maybe, you know, might be a lot more work than just buying campaign. But then, you know, if you have money, you have a campaign. If you don't have money, you just need to have a bit more time and spend, you know, and have some more work. But, you know, we over the years, we kind of feel that these people kind of come back. They do appreciate that we invite them for this screenings. They do appreciate the fact that, you know, it's not like automatic for every film. We kind of, over the years, we got to know many of them, and we try to pick up the right people for the right film. We more or less know what they like over the years. And of course, it's, you know, it's a long-term cooperation, but we feel that it works over the years. And for instance, you know, we are doing now, we're going to organize such a screening for the new Almodovar film, the Parallel Mothers. We're going to do like just one screening. You know, we're not going to show the film in advance a lot in December. We're going to just do this one early screening just for those influencers and celebrities to show them, so they can, you know, so they can feel privileged that they're seeing something early, and then hopefully spread the word. Okay, just now maybe a small task for you, hopefully. This is forms of promotion that we've used over the years. You know, some of them we use more, some of them we use less, some of them we don't use anymore, some of them we've just started to use. And it's a question from me. I mean, is there anything here that is, I don't know, surprising for you, something that you've never used? Or is there something that you use very often? I don't know now, Peter, how to arrange this, you know, how people can answer.
Yeah, our idea was that if you would, if there is any form of promotion that you would like to know more about, you can just type it in the chat, and then Katarzyna can elaborate on that. Or
some elements that I am going to elaborate anyway. I mean, yeah, I've chosen like 2 or 3, but maybe there's something that.
Yeah, feel free to also initiate conversation about an element Katarzyna hasn't mentioned, but you would be interested in knowing more about. That's the whole point.
So yes, I mean, if you don't have any questions now, I can talk about some of the elements that I find interesting, or sort of, let's say, newer, or that we use more nowadays. But as I said, if there's anything that interests you in particularly, let me know. So of course, you know, as a form of promotion that, you know, we talk a lot nowadays is social media. And, you know, there's plenty of social media platforms at the moment. And there's always a question, you know, should we use them all? Do we have to, I mean, should you have accounts on all these different, you know, TikToks and Twitters, etc.? Or, you know, should I do it for free, you know, not paying, or should I pay? So of course, you know, it's quite a complex question, but what you can see here, I mean, you see our, what we do, our platform. So you can see we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, and we're also on TikTok. Actually, I have to say that TikTok is our newest child. And I think it's an example of, it's kind of one of the answers for the questions, do I need to use them all? I think you can or you should use them all if you know how to use them. Basically, the idea is like, the most important is, you know, you have to be the user of this particular social media yourself, and you have to figure out how it works, you know, because for instance, you know, in our company, most of the people, I would say, are familiar, if everybody are familiar with Facebook, are familiar with Instagram, because we're from generations that use these naturally. We, of course, know YouTube. Twitter, maybe not so much, although again, we've even if we ourselves didn't use Twitter, don't use Twitter personally, we've kind of, you know, we're observing it for quite a while to figure out what works there. We were doing experiments, we're putting different things, and we kind of decided, okay, we have things to say on Twitter. We know more or less how to say them, so we're going to use it. But as for instance, for TikTok, for quite a long time, we were very much against it. We thought that this is for kids, you know, and our films are not for kids. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna promote our films to teenagers. It's kind of, you know, pointless. You know, we're not gonna do any challenges, so we're not gonna film ourselves in the office doing dances. You know, it just doesn't make sense. But then, you know, over the last few months, actually, sort of 2 of our colleagues in the office, they've started using it more and more sort of personally, and they both fell in love with TikTok somehow suddenly, and they decided that, okay, let's try to do things. Let's, you know, they were observing a lot what other people are doing, and we sort of made some rules that, you know, we're not going to film ourselves in the office, we're not going to do dances, we're not going to do challenges, but what could interest, you know, people there. So basically we've discovered that, especially, you know, people are interested in video, of course, And on one hand, you can choose videos from the film, you know, and kind of videos that something is happening there. I mean, it's, for me, it's kind of difficult to explain, you know, what works on TikTok. I'm not the one that is in love with TikTok, but the main thing is basically, you know, you just have to discover that platform. You just have to discover every platform, and kind of, it's the best if you find people in your office who actually know it, because I think that it doesn't make sense if, for instance, if you don't feel it, and if you don't like it, and if you don't know it, because then it kind of doesn't look natural. Then nobody gonna watch you or read you. So so it's important to you know, it's of course important to experiment and try different things, what works, what people like, what people don't like. But you know, if you don't feel it, don't do it, because it's just mostly probably waste of time, and probably also waste of money sometimes. But you know, but if you do feel it, then you should use as many as possible. You know, for instance, we're not on Snapchat. We don't know, nobody knows how to use that, so so we don't use that. But these 5 we use on regular basis, and there's basically kind of different people doing different platforms. We sort of we've chosen people who feel well in each platform, and we just, you know, gave them some freedom. And it's actually quite interesting because for TikTok, we have now like 3 colleagues who are just brainstorming almost every day what would be good for TikTok, and I'm quite excited, and it actually seems to work. So, and as for the question, pay or not to pay, of course, it always, it kind of always depends on your budget, but I don't know how much you know of how these platforms work. But basically, it's like what Facebook, as you know, nowadays, you know, Facebook cuts down reach. Basically, you know, it's not like if you have 60,000 followers, that you know, your post's gonna reach 60,000 people. So, and they kind of prefer accounts that pay than the ones that not to pay. But, you know, it doesn't always have to be a lot of money. It kind of depends. I mean, if you do a large campaign over a period of time, then of course, you know, you just spend on that particular campaign. But for instance, you know, to promote posts, you can spend a lot less. It's just important to use, you know, to find the right audience. So it's always good, you know, to target your campaigns. It's good if it's not more than, for instance, 5 interests, if you're targeting by interests. And it's better to have a smaller group than a massive one, because usually, you know, we, you know, with art house films, you never aim at millions. You know, it's better to find a smaller group, but more to your interest than just, you know, a large group that's going to be pretty random. And what's also important is to kind of, it's good if you spend continuously. It can be small amounts, but if you do it all the time, like, I don't know, even if you have 10 zloty a day, or for, you know, for posts, or even if you just promote your own account, then it's just seen by Facebook and Instagram a lot better than accounts that don't pay at all. So basically, I mean, what we do, we so far, I mean, we've used paid campaigns on all of these 5 platforms, even on TikTok, although we feel that on TikTok at the moment, we're not gonna spend money, because we feel that we want to work on it organically. At the moment, we feel that our audiences are more on Facebook and Instagram. So we what we do mostly is, you know, apart from campaigns to every film sort of separately, we promote posts on both Instagram and Facebook. And we as well promote our trailers on YouTube, because we feel that, and it's also from the research, that basically people watch mostly trailers on YouTube. So it's important, you know, for your video, for your trailers to be seen. We also, what we do, for instance, on YouTube, which we feel, which we changed over the years, and we feel it's important, that in the past, for instance, you know, we were just posting things on YouTube whenever we had them ready, and it was just it. But then, you know, after different conversation with different specialists, we got to know, and we sort of see that also in our promotional work, that the most important moment for the video on YouTube is the first 48 hours. So basically, when you publish a video, you shouldn't just put it on YouTube. You should actually actively try to do everything so it's in as many places as possible. So what we do, we always plan when are we going to release a trailer, like, you know, like big Hollywood studios. We have our date and hour, and basically we try to prepare for that. So we make sure that, for instance, cinemas that we cooperate closely with, and that we know that possibly, you know, there's a 99% of chance that they will play this film, that they know also that we're going to release the trailer. So when we release the trailer, they're going to put it on their, for instance, on their Facebooks, that they're going to put it on their websites already, that we in advance inform press, that is some portals that cooperate with us, that, okay, come on, this day and this hour, we're going to have a premiere of our trailer. Please publish it on this particular day, you know, within those 48 hours. We also send mailings to the press with the trailer, so as well, with the hope that, you know, as many different media publish the trailer. Because basically we see, I mean, it's kind of like a technical thing for Google, that if the video is as widely spread within those first 48 hours, it's better seen by Google, and it will sort of be better later positioned in search, in different propositions that they will show, you know, if the user gonna use YouTube. So what we recommend is do that, you know, organize a premiere of your trailer, and use those 48 hours to spread it as much as possible. Does anyone has any questions, maybe about social media? Any particular question?
Just feel free anytime to put any question in the chat, either in Serbian or English. That's the easiest solution. Exactly.
So as we've mentioned Groovy in the past, as I've mentioned that before, that, you know, you can promote posts. And I've mentioned that, you know, you organize these campaigns, you know, you pay for campaigns. So this is an example of the film that actually we released a week ago, a Polish film, and these are all elements of the campaign of this film on Facebook and Instagram. And basically, I mean, we've been cooperating with Groovy, I would say 2 or 3 years now. I think what's really one of the interesting things, I mean, if you regularly cooperate with them, is basically we can see that with every campaign, it's getting easier and easier to reach the audience, because the system is kind of learning, and basically we're gathering audience with every film. And then later, you know, when we have a new campaign, we can, for instance, use the audiences from the previous campaign. So it's not like every single time with every campaign we have to sort of start from scratch and say, okay, let's do it by interest, you know, let's target this campaign of people interested in film, I don't know, some director or particular actor, which, as we know, they not always with art house cinemas, almost never in interest, because, you know, we work with not very known actors and not very known directors. But then, you know, when you already have audiences gathered in the previous campaigns, and basically in every, you kind of gather, let's call it an art house audience, because, you know, we distribute more or less, you know, films that, you know, there is a core Gutek Film audience, let's say, people who are watching art house films. And of course, with every film, we try to widen that audience a bit, you know, either because it's a Polish film, so it's slightly different audience, or because it's a more known director like Almodovar, or because there is a subject that interests some people that maybe, you know, they've never seen any of our films before, but the subject gonna interest them. So every time with every campaign, basically all the clicks that happen and all the interactions that happen with the ads basically are being remembered. And then you can, for instance, with the next campaign, you can use this clicks, this audience you've gathered, and basically target the campaign to those people. You can always, for instance, we can many times choose, for instance, previous campaigns, because, you know, of course we have different style of films, from Lars von Trier to, you know, to French comedies. So I'm not gonna target a new French comedy to audience of Lars von Trier film, but we've had enough French comedies or enough, in general, maybe lighter art house titles that we can target the new film too. So I don't know. I know that last year you've had a presentation by Groovy. So I'm not sure how detailed I should go into this. I don't know, Petar, if you want me to mention anything in particular, or.
It was a very detailed presentation, and we already mentioned it during the first masterclass with Oleg, that it's available on Slobodna Zona YouTube channel.
Okay.
So, so we elaborated on them in all the details.
So maybe I'll continue then.
Yes.
Okay. Especially we have still, I think, half an hour. Okay. So. One of the elements of promotion as well, that it's not only us using it now, I would say it's everybody using it now, it's the video. But the one important thing I think that changed in the last few years is the fact that, of course, on one hand, you have these amazing videos, with amazing editing, by the big Hollywood films, etc., that gather your attention. But then you also, what changed, people have better and better phones, and basically, anyone can be an influencer now. So what I mean is basically you can record things, and you can, record things yourself. And on one hand, you can, you don't always have to do this amazing videos yourself. You can just, record it yourself, either from any event or any premiere, or, maybe not exactly from your office, but, we even sometimes, for instance, make videos of posters coming from the printers, and you can make a boomerang from, posters and, sort of unrolling from the pile. And we can see that basically people as well are, the audiences are familiar with kind of this rough, not very good videos, because everybody's doing it. Also, everybody has better and better phones, and every year you can film better and better videos. So I will even show you here a video that we actually made for this film that we released a week ago, that we recorded during the premiere of that film. I have it here. And this is actually a video that we use on TikTok. And it was fully made on TikTok with basically, we recorded it in the cinema, and then we put letters basically in the TikTok app.
Oho, to pomyślę jeszcze, że jesteś jakąś paranoiczką.
Guess I'll stop sharing. Yeah, so it was basically, you know, a simple video. Everything was done by the TikTok application. So simple as that. So, you know, you can use your phone. You don't need any, of course, you know, we've added music, but as well, we had the music from the film, but it's simple as that. And people really like this. And this was basically to announce, you know, the premiere of the film. And, you know, it seemed to work so far. So we are doing more and more this kind of videos. We basically, if we have events in Muranów, we record them like this. We use them then for Instagram, we use them for TikTok. We also, you know, I think I have here a video as well, so I'll share a screen in a moment. That we also, basically, if you have a local film, or if you have, you know, guests that come to your film, to your premiere, that you can basically record them as well. So we, for instance, we basically recorded on one of the events, we've recorded the actors from the film. We asked them to say a few words. I'll share it in just a second. Excuse me, just to...
Jakie macie sposoby na pechowe, puste dni?
Telefon do przyjaciela albo przyjaciółki.
Ja do nikogo nie dzwonię. Oglądam filmy i śpię. Czytam książki.
A ja mam Helenę.
Jakie macie sposoby na pechowe, puste?
So it's basically, you know, basically a video like that. It was actually the dog from the film has become a hit, because we actually asked all the actors, I mean, not only these two, but quite a few more, to record, because, you know, the slogan of our film was change is possible. So we asked them, what is a change for you? And when we kind of edited that into one video, and we've also recorded the dog, and we've added subtitles to the dog, which were quite funny. And basically people loved that. Again, you know, just everybody were recording from random places, just recording on their phone, and it all worked. So, okay, so I'll continue. Here, we're here with the video. So just, you know, don't be afraid of using your phone. But one thing that we've also noticed lately, and we are planning actually to work on more, are our newsletter. Because of course, you know, we're sending newsletters to the journalists, but you know, when a few weeks ago, I would say now, when Facebook and Instagram stopped working, and WhatsApp, we suddenly realized, like, you know, what if, you know, they actually do stop working, you know, how are we gonna reach people? And then we've realized that, you know, you have to sort of try to find also other ways to reach people. And, you know, also not everybody has Facebook, not everybody is on Instagram or TikTok. So we've decided, I mean, we've had that for a while, but we decided to focus on it a bit more. It's our newsletter. This is actually a newsletter to the audience. It's actually, I mean, you know, the part on the right is sort of continuation of the part on the left. So we tend to send such a newsletter once a week or once in 2 weeks, basically if we have something to say, because we always try to have some information that is not just one news. What's important, it's always these, longer texts or longer news are on our website, and all these elements of the newsletter are basically linking to our website. So on one hand, you make people enter your website and see, what other things you have, and what films you have, and basically, to get to know you. But on the other hand, you don't want to make the newsletter very long. You don't want, people opening a newsletter that has blocks of texts very long, because they're going to get bored, they're not going to read it. We're just trying to make it, short sort of introductions, if you click, what can you expect? And we can see that, that people are clicking in the things that interest them. And basically as well, the thing at the top of the newsletter, we kind of always add our previous premiere and our current premiere. So basically people can click to a website where we have cinemas listed. Usually it's the websites that are created by Groovy. So it's also, sort of one element of the campaign, because, basically everybody who enters the website are being captured by the, and being, we're collecting data. So, so basically also people from the newsletter, are being, if somebody clicks to check where our film is being screened, then we assume that it's our audience as well, and we can in the future send them our internet campaign. But basically, we, for instance, here, I think on the right, you can see when we are releasing Annette, that you had a link to a soundtrack of a film. You could watch a trailer. You could buy a poster. So we also, when we're releasing a film, we're trying to have like a newsletter mostly focused on the film. So not only, inform the audience that the film is being released this weekend, because we usually send the newsletters on Thursdays, but also all the other elements of the film that they might be interested, any particular news, or as you can see here, soundtrack, trailer, poster. So we basically, our plan for now is kind of how to get more people to subscribe to our newsletter. So we are planning to change our website a bit, so it's easier to find a place where you can sign for a newsletter, and as well think, how, for instance, use our cinema, or maybe also other cinemas, maybe make some posters that could be in cinemas, or maybe even some video that could be in cinema. Or at least a board, a board with information that you can sign for a Gutek Film newsletter here, because we feel that you have to have also this other leg, not only social media, but you need to gather your audience also somewhere else, and and have their emails, basically, because that seemed to be also working. Here's just maybe quickly, my idea here was, it's about posters. It's about, I guess many distributors are probably familiar with this. Are we staying with the poster, with the international poster, or are we doing our own poster? So just one thing I wanted to say, because I'm going to mention actually Charlatan later in a short case study, that basically if you believe, or if you don't believe in the international poster, and you believe that this is not a poster that your audience is going to like, or even you've tested and and you feel that people not going to like it, or it's not representing how you want to sell the film, just basically don't be afraid with with changing poster. Of course, it always depends whether you have material to do that, and and what's, you know, how big is the film, because we feel like, you know, if the film is, for instance, small, too many times, you know, you don't really have a budget to create your own poster from scratch, or at least from photos. But especially if the film is with a bigger potential and you feel that the posters you were given doesn't work, you know, just don't be afraid to change it. And of course, on a list, also on a list of different forms of, you know, promotion, there were influencers and paid influencers. So we've done both of the types. I mean, we work with influencers for free, and we work influencers that we pay. Although I have to say that the paid ones, we rarely do that, because we kind of feel, I mean, it has to be right film and right influences. I don't know how is it in Serbia, but in Poland, you know, the accounts, especially on Instagram, that are talking about film, or in general, you know, people who are not talking only about fashion and I don't know, nails and exercises. There are not that many, this sort of good, interesting accounts. So you know, so it has to be always people who are actually matching the film. So for instance, here we have a film, as you can see, called Sweat. And we've worked with some influencers, which we felt is, I mean, it was actually a film about a fitness influencer who maybe not exactly lives a double life, but, you know, her life in the internet is, of course, amazing and glamorous, but her real life is not. And we actually found influencers who were ready to talk about that, who were ready to talk about how the real life is actually different from the life you're showing many times, you know, online. So these were actually, you know, paid cooperations, because, you know, many times of this big accounts or big influencers, you know, with many followers, they rarely do things for free. But still, you know, it's important that, you know, that there are people who are kind of matched with your film, and that can do it sort of in a style of the film, and so it kind of fits also to their audience. Because, you know, if you have people who, for instance, never been in a cinema in their life, and they're gonna promote a film in cinema, probably it's going to be, you know, it's not, their audience going to feel that it's not exactly real, and they're not going to be exactly convinced to go to cinema, because probably they as well don't go to cinema. So for instance, here as well, what we've done, we've actually, because this was one of our bigger campaigns for a Polish film, we've actually created a box for them. It was actually pretty cheap. I mean, we just bought some boxes, we've bought some hay, as you can see inside. I think we've had some hay from somebody gave us at some point. And we sort of printed, there's like an alternative poster to this film that looks like it's a cover of some fitness magazine. And we've also, because we've got a material from the producer with exercises by the actress, but, you know, by the character from the film. And we've kind of edited in a way that there were bits of her exercising and some darker bits from the film. And basically we've sent these parcels to those influencers, and they were doing as well unboxing, and then kind of watching the video online, and then basically sharing their thoughts, because our idea was so they share their thoughts about this kind of real life versus online life. But what's most important for us, because as I said, we do that rarely, because we don't really have such a budget. This kind of people are usually quite expensive. What we do, we just think that everybody can be an influencer, especially now, because basically nowadays everybody has social media, and even if they're not, you know, do other things, you know, they're not influencers per se, you know, they're not celebrities, or they don't live as from being an influencer. They always communicate with other people. So it's always the question, you know, you just have to find the right people to, you know, right film for the right people, and just try to show them. And as I was already saying before, with those screenings, pre-screenings for influencers and celebrities, the similar idea is here. I mean, we just, you know, we find people who maybe would like the film. We're trying to show the film them in advance, of course, you know, if they have time, if they agree, because, you know, you will always have people who never reply to you. With every film, you know, we try to get to know some new people. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Some people are not interested in this kind of cooperations, which is fine. But sometimes, you know, people are just want to do that, you know, just want to see a film. And especially that, you know, we as Gutek Film, we never force them to, we never want anything in return. We never tell them, we're going to show you this film if you're going to post something about it. We just don't want to make them feel forced. And, you know, basically most of these people, they know about it, that we don't force them. Which somehow makes them many times, you know, actually do something. So for instance, here is an example. I actually found only one example, but we had two more. We had the film You Were Never Really Here with Joaquin Phoenix by Len Ramsey, which is kind of a, you know, crime thriller. And we talked to three crime writers. We showed them the film in advance, and basically we just invited them for one of the pre-screenings, and we didn't expect any of them to do anything. We just, you know, wanted them to see the film. Maybe something will happen. And all three really liked the film, and all three posted on the social media. So for instance, here you see Katarzyna Bonda, which at the moment is probably the most known female crime writer. And she just basically, as you can see, took a photo in the cinema and wrote that, you know, that she absolutely loved the film. And yeah, and it's, you know, and for us, it was, you know, you sort of reached a different kind of audience that we would normally reach. And here, as I've mentioned to you before, when the pandemic started and we had to change our way of work, and we were trying to think how to promote our VOD catalog, because, you know, we've suddenly realized that, okay, our films are online, but it seems that, you know, our audience doesn't know that, or at least doesn't know, you know, exactly where they are. So we were thinking, you know, how to do that. So our idea, and this is like a sort of a sum up of the whole action that, you know, it took I think quite a few weeks. I think we were publishing one person per week, so would be about 30 weeks. So it was for quite a long time. We basically asked plenty of different people. We are basically asking people who, you know, all these influencers that I was telling you about, all these people that we over the years got to know. Most of them are Polish, most of them are film directors, but there are also some actors. There are also some foreign ones, like for instance, Laszlo Nemes. There is Ari Aster, the directors of McQueen. So basically we've asked them to, you know, we've sent them the list of the films from our catalog, but the ones that we have on VOD, because of course, you know, we have a lot more film in our catalogs, but not all of them we still have rights for. So I've sent them the list and asked them basically choose films from that list that you like. If you could just, you know, recommend them to people, to our audience, basically, you know, what do you recommend them to watch? And basically people were doing it, you know, sometimes just chose a list of films, some of, excuse me, it's been talking for quite a while. So some of them, they were writing even like, you know, shorter or longer paragraphs about every film. and it was basically really interesting because, you know, we were basically later publishing the films with links where can you watch each film. So suddenly people were, you know, discovering that not only the films that maybe they forgot that they've seen and want to see it again. Oh, they discovered some films that, you know, the director they like is recommending, they've never heard of the film, they want to watch it. And we basically provided a place where they are. So people suddenly realize, oh, there's a platform with films on and I can watch more films, not only those recommended. So so we consider it was really a big success. As you can see, there are some numbers here. That was in total 29 people. That the most recommended film was Love by Michelle Haneke. 12 people recommended it. And over, you know, 70 films were recommended in total. So so kind of, you know, because we were wondering how to make this interesting for people, you know, if we cannot just keep posting, oh, and watch this film, oh, and watch this film. If it's someone who they appreciate, you know, and somebody else is recommending, not only us, then it's kind of more powerful. And we think that, you know, for those first months of pandemic, it worked really, really well. And we could really see the difference in our VOD numbers. And here maybe also quickly from one of the also elements of the things we do promotionally, it's so-called cross-promotion. It can be really a lot of different things. I'm here just showing you some elements, some promotions or some cooperations that we had over the last few years. I would say the most interesting ones. Because basically with every film, maybe not with every film, but with definitely with slightly bigger films, we're trying to find someone that we could cooperate with, someone who matches in a way a subject of the film. It's basically up to you. It's always up to us. I mean, kind of, you know, your creativity is your limit. What can you invent here? And we had really plenty of crazy ideas over the years. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. One thing we try to do, it's usually local companies, because, you know, it's very difficult to get to big corporations, and that's also not exactly something that interests us. But it's also many times, you know, if you work with a smaller company, for them it's also a promotion, so they're happy to do it for free. So basically, it's an exchange of is an exchange, you know. So no money involved. Both sides are happy. So, for instance, the elements that we do here. One pretty, I would say, obvious, we've done it a lot of time in the past, is if the film is based on a book, like here you can see J'accuse by Roman Polanski, we basically cooperate with the publishers of the book, and it works, it's different from time, I mean, every time, because, you know, sometimes it's like, for instance, the publisher houses, they know, for instance, they know that there will be a film about the book. So, for instance, they buy rights, then they look who's the distributor, and then, for instance, you know, they contact us, or we search for them. We search if anyone has a right for the book, and then the book is being published around the time of the premiere. Usually the cover of the book is the poster of the film. So it's kind of, you know, all together. Then, you know, we promote the book, the publishing house promotes the film. Sometimes, you know, if the book has been published, you know, years ago, we either, you know, and for instance, the publisher doesn't have time or doesn't want to republish it, then we at least, you know, ask them if they could give us some books so we can give away as presents in competitions, for instance. And basically the similar idea, it's we had here with Charlatan, which we worked with a company that produces natural cosmetics, because we've sold Charlatan in a slightly different way. We were not selling it as a political drama. We focused on nature. So basically a company that also focuses on nature was a perfect cooperation for us. And you know, we could give cosmetics in competitions. They were promoting us, of course, using their social media or using their newsletter. We gave them some tickets to give away as well to their clients. And then from two interesting ones from this year. One is, you can see on the right, The Speech, which is a French comedy. And in Warsaw, there is a place called Comedy Club, which is an improv comedy club. And they've, over the years, you know, they've grew a lot, and they have even 3 clubs at the moment with regular shows every day. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 shows. And they have very different formats. And they actually called us, and they wanted to cooperate with us. And we invented, you know, a show together, which basically during the show, we were showing the clips from the film. And they were, the team of the comedy club, they were improvising based on those clips. And basically, you know, before the show, they actually asked the audience, because, you know, we've been to the show as well. They've asked the audience, have anyone seen the film before? And there were maybe 4 people who have seen the film. And then, you know, after the show, they were also asking, you know, who would like to see the film after what they've seen. And it was almost an entire room. So basically, you know, we got there people who haven't seen the film, who maybe, you know, they like the comedy club. They went there because it's a place that they like to go. And maybe, you know, the show interested them, or maybe it was random. But then, you know, somehow after the show, they decided that they want to see the film. That was the base of the show. And we actually try to fairly regularly cooperate with them now to different films. Of course, again, it's not every film. You know, we didn't do any promotion with Aida, for instance, because it's not the right film. But we are thinking of other titles. We've done Annette, for instance, with them as well. So it's very interesting, because, you know, it's a young, hip audience, and it's a way for us as well to kind of get younger people to get to know us and come to the cinema. And the last one, which is also very interesting, which we were slightly shocked actually, because it's a cooperation with Yestersen, which is basically it's an online furniture shop. They sell kind of designers, retro furniture, and they've opened their showroom this summer, and they wanted to promote the showroom. And we've worked with them on The Human Voice by Almodovar, which, as you probably know, has amazing interior design. And they basically, in their showroom, recreated that room. So they've actually, you know, brought into their showroom the armchairs, I mean, all the furniture. Basically, you could go there and sit in the room from The Human Voice by Almodovar. They've made a lot of things promotionally. I mean, you know, there were posters all over the city. You know, we've done together we were inviting different guests to that showroom, where we were doing sort of speeches together to talk about the film and why we're cooperating and about this room. So, you know, it was, for us, it was an amazing cooperation. For them was as well. So that was kind of quite special cooperation. And, I don't know how much time do we have. Oh, almost none.
I think we have to round up, yeah, because we have a next event.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, you know, so it's fine. I mean, I think I've talked a lot over this 2 hours. So you know, if you want to, because I just had 3 case studies, but we don't really have to talk about them. I mean, you know, we can finish. So.
Yeah, we're just unfortunately pressed with time, but it was really interesting, and I think what we learned both from your masterclass and from the first masterclass this morning is that we really need to we really live in the time when we need to combine different kinds of data and platforms, because you use festival data, you use data from your VOD platform, or maybe from my Kino platform if they share with you, or from cinema data, or from a distribution report. Yeah, so it's like each piece of distribution gives you different insight about audience, and that's what is a more complete picture. Yeah, and it's also the same as Ola said, this kind of digital optimization of the audience campaigns and use of social media. And it's also like how to modernize your website or your ticket purchasing system. It's all the things that make audience frustrated if it can't go within a second. And yeah.
But I think, that's of course one element. That's kind of, I would say, basis, let's say, that you have to be, up to date with the technology. But I think it's still important that you also, creative, because it's not only about, okay, I can sell tickets and I have a nice looking website, but if you do boring campaigns and if you don't reach new audiences, that won't be enough. You still have to make the audiences interested. And I think it's important to find different people that want to work with you on that, different partners, because, it's just nowadays the film audience is so different, so varied, you don't have just people interested in films, like you cannot just say from 18 years old to 49 interested in films. That can be only said for blockbusters in Hollywood. But for art house films, you really have to look for your audience in more intelligent way and sort of be more creative, look for them in places that you've never looked before.
Yeah, and I think, and I would like to finish with that, I think the major takeaway from your presentation is also this cross-promotion thing. So like find a partner that will help you cross-promote, and normally it costs no money or costs very little. So budget and money is not an excuse in those cases. You can
be brave to try new things. You never know where you're gonna find a partner that wants to work with you. And so just I would say maybe, of course, sometimes budget is a limit, but really imagination is the limit many times. So just go for crazy things. You never know how they gonna work out.
Yes. So. Okay. So thanks a lot for your insights and from your very well structured presentation.
It was interesting.
I will share your email so people who will watch this later and also who are here can contact you if they need any further.
Of course.
Thanks, and we'll stay in touch. And I just want to say to people who are still here that within half an hour we have a panel with the local ex-Yugoslav VOD platforms and representatives of those platforms. So you can also come back in half an hour there and see you there. Thanks again, Katarzyna.
Okay. Thank you very much.